The stars were dying. Not in the natural way stars die after billions of years, but quickly, violently, at the hands of the Valaxians. Lieutenant Commander Kate Reeves stood at the large window on Lunar Base Alpha, her eyes fixed on the stream of damaged ships arriving. These were not military vessels but transport ships packed with scared people who had lost their homes. "Another colony gone," said a deep voice behind her. Kate turned to see Commander Alan Pierce. His face looked tired. The lines around his eyes seemed deeper than they had been just a week ago. "New Eden fell last night," he said. "No warning, just like the others." Kate nodded. The pattern was always the same. The Valaxian ships would appear near a human colony. There was never any message, no demands, not even a threat. They simply arrived and began to destroy everything. "How many survivors?" Kate asked. "Less than 2,000. Out of a colony of 30,000. Kate's hand tightened into a fist. She had friends on New Eden. She didn't ask if they were among the survivors. The answer was likely no. "That makes 3 major colonies in the past month," she said. "Tau Ceti, Proxima Centauri, and now New Eden. They're moving faster." Commander Pierce handed her a small computer pad. "These are your new orders." Kate looked down at the screen. The words USS Defiance stood out immediately. She had heard rumors about this ship for months. A secret project, a new type of warship unlike anything in the human fleet. "They want me on the Defiance?" she asked, her voice quiet with surprise. "Captain Natalie Wright requested you personally," Pierce said. "You leave in 6 hours." Kate looked back out the window. Earth hung in the distance, blue and peaceful. Most of its people still lived normal lives, still went to work, still planned for futures that might never come. They knew about the Valaxians, of course. Everyone did. But the war still felt distant to them. Intelligence reports estimated that the Valaxians would reach the Sol system, Earth system, within 3 weeks. "What makes them think the Defiance will be any different from our other ships?" Kate asked. "We've lost 37 warships trying to stop the Valaxians, not one of their ships destroyed." Pierce shrugged. "Above my pay grade, but I've heard things. The Defiance has technology we've never used before. Some say it might actually have a chance." 6 hours later, Kate sat in a small transport ship heading out past Mars, toward the asteroid belt near Jupiter. The Defiance was being kept hidden, away from prying eyes and possible Valaxian scouts. The trip took 14 hours. Kate spent most of it reading about the enemy. The Valaxians had appeared 2 years ago. Nobody knew where they came from, or why. They attacked. Their ships were like nothing humans had ever seen. Part machine, part living creature. They moved in ways that seemed impossible, appearing and disappearing using some kind of space-folding technology. Human weapons barely damaged them. Human shields couldn't stop their attacks, and they never took prisoners, never responded to messages, never showed any interest in anything except destruction. "Approaching USS Defiance," the pilot announced. "Prepare for docking." Kate looked out the small window of the transport. At first she saw nothing but the dark emptiness of space and distant asteroids. Then the transport turned slightly and she saw it. The USS Defiance didn't look like other human warships. Most human military vessels were large, blocky things, designed for strength and power. The Defiance was different. It looked smooth and sharp at the same time, like a bird of prey. It was smaller than Kate had expected, maybe a third the size of a standard destroyer. "That's our last hope," she whispered to herself. The transport docked smoothly with the larger ship. When the doors opened, Kate grabbed her bag and stepped through into the Defiance. A tall woman with short gray hair waited for her. Her uniform was crisp, her posture perfect. The 4 bars on her collar marked her as the captain. "Lieutenant Commander Reeves," the woman said. "I'm Captain Natalie Wright. Welcome aboard the Defiance." Kate saluted. "Thank you, Captain. It's an honor to be here." "Save the honor for after we've done something worth honoring," Wright said. She turned and began walking down a corridor. "Follow me. There's someone you need to meet." They walked through the ship. Kate noticed that everything looked new. The walls shone. The lights were bright. The air smelled clean. This ship had never seen battle. The Defiance is unlike any vessel in the fleet, Captain Wright said as they walked. We've incorporated technology that's been theoretical until now. Some of it we developed. Some of it, well, let's just say we had help. Kate wanted to ask what that meant, but they had reached a door. The sign read, Main Engineering. Inside, the engineering room was a maze of equipment. At the center stood a large cylinder filled with swirling blue energy. Kate had never seen anything like it before. A man in a rumpled uniform stood before a computer screen. He had messy brown hair and looked like he hadn't slept in days. Dr. Sam Kelly, Captain Wright said, the mind behind our new drive system. Man turned. His eyes were bright despite his tired appearance. So you're Reeves, he said. Good. We need people who can think creatively. The old rules don't apply anymore. What is this? Kate asked, pointing to the blue cylinder. That, Dr. Kelly said with a small smile, is how we're going to hurt them. He walked to a large screen on the wall and touched it. A diagram appeared showing a Valaxian ship. The Valaxians use a specific type of space-folding technology to travel and to escape when threatened, he explained. We've been trying to copy it for months without success, but then we realized we don't need to copy it. We just need to disrupt it. He touched the screen again. Now it showed the blue cylinder connected to what looked like a weapon. This is the quantum field disruptor, Dr. Kelly said. When activated, it creates a field that prevents space folding within its range. If a Valaxian ship gets caught in that field, it can't escape. For the first time, we can force them to stand and fight. Kate stared at the diagram. And you think our weapons can hurt them if they can't run away? We've made improvements there too, Captain Wright said. But the key is trapping them first. They've never had to fight a sustained battle. They hit hard and disappear before we can respond. The Defiance changes that equation. A voice came over the ship's communication system. Captain to the bridge. We're receiving a priority message from Fleet Command. Captain Wright's face hardened. It seems we're out of time for the full tour. Report to the bridge in 1 hour, Commander Reeves. The Valaxians have changed course. They're heading for Jupiter. As the captain left, Kate looked again at the blue, energy swirling in the cylinder. The Defiance was humanity's last real hope. In a few hours, they would find out if that hope was justified. The stars had been ravaged long enough. It was time to fight back. Kate arrived on the bridge of the USS Defiance exactly 1 hour later. The room was smaller than bridges on standard warships, but every space was used well. Screens covered the walls showing stars, planets, and the position of ships in the area. Captain Wright stood in the center looking at a large display. Other crew members sat at their stations, their faces serious. Lieutenant Commander Reeves reporting as ordered, Kate said. The captain nodded without looking away from the display. Take the tactical station. Lieutenant Garcia will brief you. Kate moved to one of the stations where a young man with dark hair made space for her. Steve Garcia, he said quietly. Welcome to the show. What's our situation? Kate asked as she sat down. 3 Valaxian ships detected near Europa, Steve said, pointing to red dots on the screen. They're not attack vessels, more like scouts. Our sensors picked them up 2 hours ago. Kate frowned. The Valaxians never sent scouts ahead before. They simply appeared and attacked. Are they looking for us? She asked. Maybe, Steve said. Or maybe they're checking out Jupiter's moons for resources. Either way, Captain thinks we should take them out before they report back. Captain Wright turned to face the bridge crew. This is not a drill, people. In 30 minutes we will engage the Valaxian scouts. This will be the first test of our new systems in actual combat. She looked at each crew member in turn. The Defiance was built for this moment. If we succeed here, we prove that the Valaxians can be hurt. If we fail... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Dr. Kelly, she called. Status of the quantum field disruptor? Dr. Kelly's voice came through the speakers. Fully charged and ready, Captain. Remember, we need to get within 5,000 kilometers for maximum effect. Understood, the captain said. She turned to the pilot. Lieutenant Olivia Hall set course to intercept the Valaxian scouts. Keep us hidden in Jupiter's radiation belts until we're ready to strike. The blonde woman at the pilot station nodded. Yes, Captain, course plotted. Kate studied her tactical display. The weapon systems on the Defiance were different from standard ships. There were fewer missile tubes, but more energy weapons. And there was the quantum field disruptor, a system unlike anything she had used before. Lieutenant Garcia, help me understand the targeting system, she said. Steve showed her how the tactical station worked. The Defiance's weapons were linked directly to the quantum field, making them more effective against Valaxian shields. Once we trap them in the field, aim for these points, Steve said, showing her a diagram of a Valaxian vessel. Dr. Kelly thinks these are their main power nodes. The next 20 minutes passed quickly as Kate familiarized herself with the systems. Then Captain Wright's voice cut through the quiet hum of the bridge. All hands, battle stations. Prepare to engage. The lights on the bridge dimmed slightly, turning to a soft red. Warning sounds echoed through the ship as crew members secured stations and prepared for combat. Coming out of the radiation belt in 30 seconds, Lieutenant Hall reported. Captain Wright stood tall in the center of the bridge. Activate stealth systems. Charge main weapons. Kate felt her heart beating faster. She had been in battles before, but never against Valaxians with any real hope of winning. Stealth systems at full power, reported an officer from another station, were invisible to standard sensors. 10 seconds to intercept, Lieutenant Hall said. On my mark, Captain Wright said calmly. Drop stealth, activate the quantum field disruptor, and fire main weapons at the lead vessel. Kate's fingers hovered. Over her console, the Valaxian scouts appeared on her screen, moving slowly through space near Europa. They didn't know the Defiance was there. Not yet. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Several things happened at once. The Defiance suddenly appeared, on sensors as its stealth system shut down. The blue energy from engineering surged through the ship, and Kate fired the main energy weapons directly at the lead Valaxian scout. The effect was immediate and shocking. The quantum field spread out from the Defiance like a bubble, catching all 3 Valaxian vessels. On Kate's screen, she could see their engines flare as they tried to escape using their space-folding technology, but they couldn't escape. They were trapped. Direct hit on the lead vessel, Kate reported as her shots connected. The Valaxian scout shuddered, its smooth black surface cracking where the energy beams hit. They're returning fire, Steve warned. The Defiance rocked as Valaxian weapons struck its shields. Shields holding at 80%, someone reported. Captain Wright's voice remained steady. Continue attack pattern. Focus fire on the lead vessel. Kate targeted the point Steve had shown her. The Defiance's weapons struck again and again. The Valaxian scout surface began to break apart. Captain, Kate said, surprised. The Valaxian vessel is taking critical damage. For the first time in the war, a human ship was winning against the Valaxians. The other scouts are moving to surround us, Lieutenant Hall warned. Adjust course to keep all 3 in our firing arc, Captain Wright ordered. The ship turned smoothly, keeping the damaged lead scout in range, while bringing weapons to bear on the others. Second volley, fire, the captain ordered. Kate launched. Another attack. The lead scout split apart, breaking into pieces that drifted through space. The first confirmed destruction of a Valaxian vessel in the entire war. The bridge was silent for a moment as everyone realized what they had just done. Then the ship shook violently as the remaining scouts concentrated their fire on the Defiance. Shields. At 60%, called the engineering officer. Target the second vessel, Captain Wright ordered, her voice still calm. Same attack pattern. Kate shifted her aim. The second scout was trying a different approach, moving rapidly to find a weakness in the Defiance's defenses. They're adapting. To our attack, Kate said, adjusting targeting. The battle continued for another 10 minutes. The second scout fell to the Defiance's weapons, breaking apart just as the first had. The third tried to flee, pushing against the quantum field with all its power. The field is holding, Dr. Kelly reported from engineering. But it's draining our power faster than expected. We need to finish this quickly, Captain Wright said. All weapons on the last target. The Defiance turned all its firepower on the final scout. It held out longer than the others, but eventually succumbed. As it broke apart, Kate noticed something strange. "Captain, I'm detecting an energy pulse from the destroyed vessel. It looks like a transmission." Captain Wright frowned. "To whom?" "There are no other Valaxian ships in range. Unknown, but it's powerful. It might reach their main fleet," Kate said. Dr. Kelly's voice came over the comm. "Captain, if they reported our position and capabilities..." Captain Wright nodded. "They know about us now, and they know we can hurt them." She turned to the communications officer. "Send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we've destroyed 3 Valaxian scouts. Tell them the Defiance works." For the first time, Kate saw the captain smile. It was small, but real. "And tell them," Wright continued, "that the Valaxians aren't invincible anymore." As the Defiance moved away from the debris field that had once been 3 enemy vessels, Kate looked at the tactical display. They had won this battle, but the main Valaxian fleet was still coming, and now it would be coming for them specifically. The war had changed today. The hunters had just become the hunted. Word spread quickly through the human colonies. The USS Defiance had done what no other ship had managed. It had destroyed Valaxian vessels. For the first time in 2 years, people felt something they had almost forgotten: hope. 2 days after the battle at Europa, the Defiance docked at Mars Defense Station. The crew stepped off the ship to find a crowd waiting for them. Engineers, officers, and civilians all wanted to see the people who had made history. Kate walked behind Captain Wright, uncomfortable with the attention. She was a soldier, not a hero. "They act like we've won the war," she said quietly to Steve as they passed through the crowd. "We gave them hope," Steve replied. "That's almost as important as winning." Admiral John Becker met them in a private meeting room. He was a large man with a stern face that rarely showed emotion. Today, however, he smiled as Captain Wright gave her report. 3 confirmed kills," he said when she finished. "Impressive, Captain. But we both know the main Valaxian fleet is still coming." "The Defiance proved the concept works," Captain Wright said. "We need to equip more ships with quantum field technology immediately." The Admiral nodded. "Already happening. Dr. Kelly's team is working with engineers to install simplified versions on our largest vessels." He turned to a screen on the wall and activated it. "But we have another problem." The screen showed a star map. A red cluster of dots was moving through space, heading directly for Earth. "The main Valaxian fleet changed course right after your engagement with their scouts," Admiral Becker said. "They'll reach Earth in 5 days. That's not enough time to upgrade our entire fleet." Kate studied the screen. There were at least 20 Valaxian ships in the approaching fleet, including 3 massive vessels that dwarfed the others. "What are those, Meow?" she asked, pointing to the largest ships. "We call them dreadnoughts," the Admiral said. "Based on the destruction they've caused at other colonies, each one has enough firepower to level a continent." Captain Wright's face was grim. "How many ships will have quantum field technology ready in time?" 3, including the Defiance," Admiral Becker said. "Maybe 4 if we rush the USS Intrepid." 4 ships against 20, Kate said. The hope she had felt was fading fast. "We need to be smarter about this," Captain Wright said. "We can't match them ship for ship." She stepped closer to the display. "What if we focus on their dreadnoughts? If we can take those out, the smaller ships might retreat." Admiral Becker considered this. "A targeted strike. It could work." He looked at Captain Wright. "But you'd need to get close enough to use the quantum field on those dreadnoughts. That means getting past their escort ships." "The Defiance has the best stealth systems in the fleet," she replied. "We can get close." 2 days later, the Defiance led a small group of ships away from Earth. The USS Liberty, USS Courage, and USS Intrepid followed behind, each newly equipped with quantum field technology. They weren't as advanced as the Defiance, but they were the best humanity could produce in the limited time available. Kate stood at her tactical station on the Defiance's bridge. The crew was different now. There was still tension, but also confidence. They had faced the enemy, and won. "The Valaxian fleet has entered the asteroid belt," Steve reported from his station. "They're moving slower than expected." "They're being cautious," Captain Wright said. "They know something can hurt them now." The plan was simple but dangerous. The 4 human ships would approach from different directions. The Defiance would target the lead dreadnought, while the other ships focused on the 2 remaining dreadnoughts. If they could trap and destroy the largest Valaxian vessels, the smaller ships might be more vulnerable. "Approaching optimal attack position," Lieutenant Hall reported from the pilot station. 2 minutes until we're in range." Captain Wright stood in the center of the bridge, calm as always. "Activate stealth systems. Charge the quantum field." "Disruptor." Kate checked her weapons. Everything was ready. "Valaxian fleet still hasn't detected us," Steve said, watching his screen carefully. Then his expression changed. "Wait, energy spike from the lead dreadnought." Before anyone could react, space seemed to twist around them. The Defiance rocked violently. "They've created some kind of counterfield." Dr. Kelly's voice came over, the calm panic clear in his tone. "Our stealth systems are failing." On the main screen, Kate watched as the massive Valaxian dreadnought turned toward them. It was huge, easily 10 times the size of the Defiance. Its black surface was lined with glowing red patterns that pulsed like blood vessels. "They've adapted," Captain Wright said quietly. "They analyzed what we did to their scouts and created a defense." "All ships aboard approach and regroup at backup coordinates," Admiral Becker ordered from his command ship far behind them. The Defiance turned to retreat, but it was too late. The Valaxian dreadnought fired, and a beam of energy sliced through space toward them. "Brace for impact," Captain Wright shouted. The beam struck the Defiance, the ship shuddered, and alarms blared across the bridge. "Shields down to 30%, someone yelled. "Get us out of here, Lieutenant Hall," Captain Wright ordered. As Hall tried to move the ship away, 2 smaller Valaxian vessels appeared on either side of the Defiance. "They've surrounded us," Kate said, rapidly adjusting her targeting systems. "The Liberty and Courage are moving to assist." The Defiance fired at the nearest Valaxian ship, but without the advantage of surprise, their weapons seemed less effective. "The quantum field isn't working properly," Dr. Kelly reported. "They're blocking it somehow." Kate watched in horror as the USS Liberty moved to help them, only to be caught in crossfire from 3 Valaxian vessels. The Liberty's engines exploded, and the ship began to drift. "We need a new approach," Captain Wright said, her voice tight but controlled. "Dr. Kelly, can you modify the quantum field to cut through their defenses?" "Maybe, but I need time." Another hit rocked the Defiance. A console exploded near Kate, and she felt heat on her face. "We don't have time," Steve said, looking at his screen. "The dreadnought is charging its main weapon again." Captain Wright made a quick decision. "All power to engines. Lieutenant Hall, take us directly at the dreadnought." "Captain?" Hall questioned, turning in her seat. "You heard me. Full speed straight at them." As Hall turned back to her controls, Captain Wright opened a channel to the other ships. "All vessels fall back to Earth. The Defiance will create an opening." Kate realized what the captain intended. "You're going to ram them?" "Not exactly," Captain Wright said. She hit the comm button. "Dr. Kelly, how would the quantum field disruptor react if we overloaded it?" There was a pause before Kelly replied. "It would create a massive disruption in spacetime. Anything within 1,000 kilometers would be affected. But Captain, that would include us. Could it destroy the dreadnought? Yes, but that's all I needed to know. Begin the overload sequence." As the Defiance raced toward the massive Valaxian dreadnought, Kate saw something she never expected. On the tactical display, the Valaxian ship was backing away. "They're retreating," she said in disbelief. "No," Captain Wright replied. "They're afraid." For the first time since they appeared, the Valaxians were showing fear. The human ship they had expected to run was instead charging directly at them, and they didn't understand why. "Quantum field overload in 30 seconds, Dr. Kelly reported. Captain Wright looked at her crew. "Anyone who wants to take an escape pod should go now." Nobody moved. 20 seconds to contact, Lieutenant Hall reported. The massive dreadnought filled their view screen now. It was firing continuously at the Defiance, but the ship kept coming, engines burning past their safe limits. 10 seconds, Dr. Kelly counted down. For Earth, Captain Wright said quietly. As the Defiance closed the final distance to the dreadnought, the overloaded quantum field activated. A blue wave of energy burst from the ship, expanding outward at incredible speed. It engulfed the dreadnought, the nearby Valaxian vessels, and the Defiance itself. For a moment, all of space seemed to twist and distort. Then came the explosion. Darkness. Pain. The sound of alarms, distant and muffled. Kate opened her eyes slowly. The bridge of the Defiance was in ruins. Smoke filled the air. Emergency lights cast a dim red glow over broken equipment and fallen crew members. She tried to move and felt sharp pain in her left arm. It was broken. Blood trickled down her face from a cut on her forehead. "Status report," she croaked, then coughed as smoke filled her lungs. There was no answer. Kate pulled herself up using her good arm. The bridge was silent except for the alarms and the occasional spark from damaged consoles. Captain Wright lay near her command chair, not moving. Steve was slumped over his station. Lieutenant Hall was still in her seat, but her head was down on her controls. Kate stumbled to the captain's side and checked for a pulse. Relief washed over her when she felt it, weak but steady. Wright was alive, just unconscious. The main screen was cracked but still working partly. Through the damaged display, Kate could see the stars. The Defiance was drifting in space. "Engineering, this is Lieutenant Commander Reeves," she called over the comm system. "Is anyone there?" For a long moment, there was no response. Then a voice came through, filled with static. "This is Dr. Kelly. We're alive down here, barely. What happened?" "I'm not sure," Kate said. "The quantum field overloaded as planned, but we're still here somehow." She looked at the damaged screen again. "Can you check our sensors? See if the Valaxian dreadnought was destroyed?" "Sensors are mostly offline," Kelly replied. "But the few that are working show a lot of debris where the dreadnought should be. I think we got it." Kate felt a mix of relief and confusion. The plan had been essentially a suicide mission. The Defiance should have been destroyed along with the dreadnought. "Life support is failing," Kelly continued. "We have maybe 6 hours of air left. Communications are down. No way to call for help." Kate looked around the bridge. Most of the crew was starting to wake up now, moving slowly, checking injuries. Captain Wright's eyes fluttered open. "Did we succeed?" were her first words. "Yes, Captain," Kate said. "The dreadnought is destroyed, but somehow we survived the explosion." Wright sat up with Kate's help. "The quantum field must have protected us, pushed us away from the worst of the blast." She winced in pain. "What's our status?" Kate told her about the failing life support and the lack of communications. Wright listened, then nodded slowly. "Help me up," she said. Kate helped the captain to her feet. Wright's uniform was torn and burned in places, and she had a nasty cut on her cheek, but she stood tall. "Attention all crew," she said, her voice gaining strength. "This is Captain Wright. The Valaxian dreadnought has been destroyed. We have dealt the enemy their first major defeat." Around the bridge, crew members stopped what they were doing to listen. Wright continued. "Our life support is failing. Communications are down. By normal standards, our situation is hopeless." She paused, looking at each person on the bridge. "But the crew of the Defiance has never accepted hopeless odds before, and we won't start now." The captain turned to Lieutenant Hall, who was now awake but dazed. "Do we have any propulsion at all?" Hall checked her damaged console. "Auxiliary thrusters are still working, Captain. Not enough for real speed, but we can maneuver." "Good. Set a course for the nearest friendly ship or station, whatever's closest." The USS Courage was about 50,000 kilometers away when we hit the dreadnought, Steve said from his station. "If they survived, they might still be in range." "Make it so," Wright ordered. As the Defiance slowly turned using its thrusters, Kate went to the tactical station. Most of the displays were dark, but one still worked. "Captain," she said, studying the screen, "I'm picking up multiple signals approaching. Not human design." Wright's face hardened. "Valaxians?" "Yes, but They're not attacking. They're just watching us. On the damaged main screen, they could now see several Valaxian ships in the distance. The vessels hovered there, their red patterns pulsing slowly. They could destroy us easily right now, Steve said. Why aren't they attacking? Captain Wright studied the alien ships carefully. They've never seen anyone survive a direct confrontation with a dreadnought before. They're curious. One of the Valaxian ships moved closer to the Defiance. It was smaller than the others, about the size of the human ship. Captain, Dr. Kelly's voice came over the comm. I'm detecting strange energy readings from that approaching ship. It's trying to communicate with us. For a moment, the bridge was silent. In 2 years of war, the Valaxians had never attempted communication with humans. Can we receive their transmission? Wright asked. I think so, Kelly replied, routing it to the main screen now. The damaged screen flickered, then showed a strange, distorted image. It was hard to make out details through the cracks in the screen, but Kate could see something that looked vaguely humanoid. Its skin was pale and seemed to glow from within. Its eyes were large and entirely black. It's a Valaxian, she whispered. No human had ever seen what the enemy looked like before. The creature's mouth moved, but no sound came out. After a few seconds, a mechanical voice spoke through the ship's speakers. You fought differently, the voice said. The translation was rough with long pauses between words. Why attack directly? Why sacrifice? Captain Wright stepped forward, facing the screen. To protect our home. To stop you from destroying more of our colonies. There was a long pause. The creature's head tilted slightly. Colonies, it finally said. Not outposts, not weapons. Wright frowned. Of course they were colonies. Places where people lived. Families. Children. The creature turned and spoke to someone off-screen. There was a rapid exchange in a language no human had heard before. When it turned back, the mechanical voice spoke again. Error. Terrible error. We detected energy signatures, same as ancient enemy. Thought humans were servants of the void. Kate and Wright exchanged confused looks. The void? Wright asked. What is the void? Old enemy. Consumer of stars. Destroyer of worlds. The creature's black eyes seemed to grow even darker. Fled from our home, galaxy when void awakened. Found safety here, until detected same energy pattern from human colonies. Understanding began to dawn on Captain Wright's face. Our quantum fold drive experiments, she said quietly to Kate. We've been testing that technology on our outer colonies for years. She turned back to the screen. There has been a misunderstanding. We are not servants of this void. We were developing space travel technology that apparently uses similar energy patterns. The Valaxian was silent for a long moment. Then, great error, great tragedy, many lives lost. Yes, Wright said, her voice hard. Many lives. We offer assistance, repairs, then discussion. Before Wright could respond, the screen went black. The ship's few working systems suddenly shut down completely. What's happening? Wright demanded. Dr. Kelly's voice came through, sounding bewildered. They're helping us. I'm detecting energy transfers to our systems. They're repairing our ship remotely. Lights began to come back on across the bridge. Screens flickered to life. The air circulation system hummed as it restarted. Life support is back online, Kelly reported. Communications too, and, Captain, they're giving us access to their technical database. The information here, it's incredible. Captain Wright stood in the center of the bridge, watching as her ship came back to life around her. Send a message to Earth. Tell them we've made first contact with the Valaxians. Tell them... She paused, looking at the alien ship still surrounding them. Tell them the war might be over. Kate looked at her tactical display, now fully functioning again. The remaining Valaxian fleet was forming a protective circle around the Defiance, not as enemies but as escorts. 2 years of war, millions of lives lost, all because of a terrible misunderstanding. "What happens now, Captain?" she asked quietly. Wright's face showed a complex mix of emotions, relief that the fighting might stop, but also anger at the senseless destruction that had already occurred. "Now," she said, "we talk, and we make sure nothing like this ever happens again." 3 months later, Kate stood in a large meeting room aboard the International Space Station. The room was divided into 2 sections. On one side sat the human delegation, led by Admiral Becker. On the other side were the Valaxians, their pale skin glowing softly in the station's lights. The Valaxian leader, who called himself Zen, sat directly across from Kate. Unlike the others of his kind, who wore simple gray coverings, Zen wore a robe with swirling patterns that matched the designs on their ships. "The technology exchange continues to benefit both our peoples," Admiral Becker was saying. "The medical advances alone have saved thousands of lives already." Zen nodded, a human gesture he had adopted during these meetings. "We are pleased. Cooperation brings healing." His translator device was more advanced now, but still gave his speech a halting quality. Kate watched the proceedings with mixed feelings. After the Defiance's encounter with the Valaxian fleet, things had moved quickly. The Valaxians had escorted the damaged ship back to Earth, causing panic at first. But once the situation was explained, cautious diplomacy had begun. It wasn't easy. Many humans demanded revenge for the colonies that had been destroyed. Many Valaxians believed humans were still a threat. But the need to understand the greater danger, this mysterious void that the Valaxians had fled from, pushed both sides toward cooperation. "Captain Wright sends her regrets that she could not attend today," Admiral Becker continued. "She's overseeing the integration of Valaxian shield technology on our defense platforms." Zen's large black eyes blinked slowly. "The Defiance's captain, honored among our people. First human to communicate instead of only fight." Kate suppressed a smile. The truth was more complicated, of course. The Defiance had been trying to blow up the dreadnought, not open diplomatic relations. But sometimes history turned on such strange moments. "We have completed the review of your data on the void," said Dr. Kelly, who sat next to Kate. The engineer had become the human expert on Valaxian technology. "It's just as you feared. The energy patterns you detected from the galactic core match your historical records." A ripple of movement passed through the Valaxian delegation. Their skin pulsed with light, a sign of distress that humans were learning to recognize. "How long?" Zen asked simply. Dr. Kelly looked grim. "Based on the speed it traveled through your home galaxy, and the distance to the core of our galaxy, 50 years, maybe 60. "Not enough time," said another Valaxian, his skin flashing rapidly. "Need more ships, need more space to flee." "Admiral." Becker leaned forward. "We're not talking about running this time. Together we might have a chance to stop this thing." The meeting continued for hours, with both sides sharing information and plans. Kate listened, but her mind kept returning to the past few months. The revelation that the entire war had been a mistake had changed everything. The Valaxians, it turned out, had fled from a destructive force they called the Void, a vast, spreading energy pattern that consumed entire star systems. They had traveled for generations looking for a safe place. When they detected the energy signature of human quantum experiments, they thought they had found the Void again, or at least its servants. They had attacked out of fear, not malice. When the meeting ended, Kate walked to the observation deck of the station. Earth hung below, beautiful and blue. In orbit around it, she could see the shapes of massive construction projects, combined human and Valaxian technology, building defenses and research stations. "Hard to believe where we were just months ago," said a voice behind her. Kate turned to see Captain Wright approaching. The captain moved more slowly now, still recovering from her injuries on the Defiance. "Captain," Kate said, surprised. "Admiral Becker said you couldn't make it." "I finished early with the shield integration," Wright said, joining Kate at the Window. Thought I should see how the diplomatic side is progressing. They stood in silence for a moment, watching Earth turn slowly beneath them. Do you think we can trust them? Kate finally asked. Wright considered the question. I think we have to. The data they've shared about the void matches what our own deep space probes have detected. It's real, and it's coming. But after everything, they made a terrible mistake, Wright said. So did we, in our way. We detected their ships and immediately prepared for war. Neither side tried to communicate until it was almost too late. Kate nodded slowly. She understood the logic, but the memory of New Eden's survivors was still fresh in her mind. The combined fleet leaves next week, Wright said, changing the subject. 3 human ships and 2 Valaxian vessels. The first joint expedition to the Galactic Core to gather more data on the void. I heard the Defiance will lead the mission, Kate said. Wright smiled. With a mixed crew, half human, half Valaxian. She turned to face Kate directly. I want you as my first officer. Kate's eyes widened. Me? You were there when everything changed. You understand both what we lost and what we might gain. Wright's expression grew serious. This isn't just about our 2 species anymore. If the void is what the Valaxians believe it is, then every living thing in this galaxy is threatened. Kate looked back at Earth, thinking of all the people who still didn't know about the greater danger approaching. How many other species might be out there equally unaware? I'll do it, she said. When do we leave? 3 days. The Defiance is almost ready. The Valaxians have upgraded our quantum field technology. It's 10 times more powerful now. As they turned to leave the observation deck, a Valaxian appeared in the doorway. It was Zen, his skin glowing softly in the dim light. Captain Wright, he said, his voice clearer now with the improved translator. Lieutenant Commander Reeves, I must speak with you. What is it? Wright asked. Our scientists have been studying the data from our encounter with your ship, the moment when the quantum field overloaded. Zen's skin pulsed with excitement. We believe we have found something important. A new kind of energy pattern that might disrupt the void itself. Wright and Kate exchanged looks. Could it really be possible? Show us, Wright said. As they followed Zen to the research section, Kate thought about how quickly everything had changed. Just 3 months ago, humans and Valaxians had been locked in a deadly war. Now they were working together against a common threat. One ship had changed the course of the war. Perhaps now, a combined fleet could save the galaxy itself. In the research lab, human and Valaxian scientists worked side by side, their differences forgotten in the face of the greater challenge. On screens around the room, simulations showed the approach of the void, a darkness that consumed the light of stars. But in one simulation, a tiny point of light pushed back against the darkness. A new kind of quantum field, created by combining human innovation with Valaxian knowledge. It's just a theory, one of the human scientists cautioned. We won't know if it works until we try it. Then we'll try it, Wright said. Together. As Kate looked around the room, she saw hope on both human and Valaxian faces. The war that had begun with a tragic misunderstanding might end with something remarkable. 2 former enemies uniting to save not just themselves, but all life in the galaxy. They had ravaged the stars in their conflict. Now they would fight together to preserve them.